Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reimagine 2021, brought to you by Mousebelt. I'm your co-host, Ashlie Meredith, and today we're bringing you version 9.0 of our virtual blockchain conference series, Game of Chains. We're exploring all the latest innovations in the Bitcoin and Ethereum networks, asking, is a new chain going to take the throne? And if so, who will it be? I'm excited to be joined by Colin Pape. He's the founder over at Presearch.io. Hi, Colin. How are you doing today?
Hey, Ashley, I'm great. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So I think right away, why don't you tell our viewers more about what you're doing at Presearch and how you're building a better search engine for we the people?
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. So at Presearch, we're building a decentralized search engine driven by the community. Unlike many of the search engines of today that are venture capital based and that are tracking people and invading privacy in the name of monetization, we're more of a grassroots, ground up search engine that has been kind of started for and by we the people, as we like to say. It's kind of a platform for everybody, and we're providing people with search choice and also privacy when they search, as well as rewards. So when you search, you earn pre-search tokens, and then those tokens are utilized within our advertising platform that uses something called keyword staking. So yeah, a bit of a new take on search, and something that is needed with one company dominating more than 90% of the search market. It's pretty centralized. So excited to offer an alternative.
Yeah, and for people who are just tuning in, who are just kind of getting into blockchain or understanding what some of these benefits are of decentralization. Maybe at first they were just interested in a different way of investing. They want to get higher returns on the money that they're investing. They get into trading, then they start to learn about the technology and what it can enable as far as how we transact value and how we interact with the internet itself. I think more and more people are starting to care about privacy and how centralized things like Facebook and Google are. But for people who are just kind of dipping their toes into it, can you explain more about why it's important to have more privacy and decentralization when you're using a search engine? Because it's a very fundamental way that people engage with the internet, right? You open up a browser and it's kind of the number one way I think most people get to the next website that they want to get to is they just quickly Google it, and maybe they've never thought about alternatives because Google is so ubiquitous.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they've got more than 90% market share, and they've done obviously a great job on the product front. And I think it's really only kind of recently that more and more people are just waking up to some of the downsides that come to having that market dominance, and that potentially what started off as kind of this quirky academic project, which has now become this internet behemoth, more than $100 billion a year in advertising revenue, and the ability to basically kind of to some degree control what people think, because it's exposing them to information, and specifically things like the autocomplete. So as you're typing and it's making these suggestions, that really has the ability to influence what people end up searching for. And over the past few years, as people on different Google platforms like YouTube have been deplatformed, and there's been kind of an increasing level of censorship, and we've just seen more and more people starting to question, is there a bias there? Is there an agenda? Is this kind of this just strictly algorithmic based system, or is there like manual intervention that's happening behind the scenes, which is actually the case? Are there some downsides to us all putting so much faith and trust in this one entity to steer us to the right information? And so what we're attempting to do is provide an alternative that really enables the community to have more input into the system, and also just a different level of accountability. So one of the coolest things I think about a lot of blockchain projects is the fact that most of them have channels on Telegram or on Discord, and those who are interested in the projects and the inner workings, and maybe the machinations behind the scenes from, the founders and the teams that are running things. They can go in and they can interact directly, and they can ask questions, and they can hold people accountable. And that's really something that's kind of missing from traditional companies that operate, just more or less behind the scenes. They have this facade that they put out. And specifically when you get to the level of Google, where it's basically this kind of, great wall around Google. There's no ability to really interact with somebody or to challenge them. I mean, even lawmakers, regulators have had a hard time holding Google accountable. And so certainly the community really doesn't seem to have a means to do that. Up until they resigned for 3 years prior to that, the founders of Google weren't even attending the annual Google shareholder meetings. So it's kind of just this whole other layer of accountability and openness and transparency. And that's what I think we're bringing to the conversation that's different than traditional search engines.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique feature of the crypto blockchain community that the people who are building these projects are so accessible. And it's kind of the advice that we always give students too is, if you want to get into the blockchain industry, it's still so small that you can hop in these Telegram groups and talk to the CEO and just tell these people, I have questions, I want to work for you, all that kind of stuff. Do you think that it's a issue of scale, that the industry is just so new and small right now that it's like that? Or is there actually a difference in philosophy and how these teams operate?
Yeah, I think it is really a difference in philosophy, and especially just, operating in a decentralized way. And what you said is absolutely rings true within our project. I mean, pretty much everybody who works on the team started off as a community member, somebody who came in and they just, started kind of proving their worth without really any barriers. They were in there, they were passionate, they identified with the mission, and they're looking at ways that they can add value, and they just kind of come in and they start doing stuff, and they get noticed, and all of a sudden they start building kind of rep within the community, and people start turning to them. And then as there are different opportunities to add, paid positions to the team, or where we've got a new need that is unfilled, it's kind of logical that we would turn to those people who are already committed, already have kind of a stake in the ecosystem, versus trying to go outside and bypass those people and hire from the outside. And I think that's been the case in a lot of projects. It's very much a meritocracy. People aren't so much kind of there because of their pedigree. It's more what do you actually bring to the table? How are you contributing? What value are you delivering? And do you have a relationship with team members, with community members? Because the way that human relationships work, we're all still kind of human. A lot of things are based on emotions and on feelings, and it's kind of a really great opportunity for people to kind of get in at the ground floor and just build these relationships that enable them to kind of work their way up into different positions. So I could change at some point, but I like to think it's part of the ethos of the space, and certainly with our project and many like us, it is. And even at mass scale, we'll ensure that is still kind of a bedrock principle that we're built upon. And we're trying to really design organizations around that rather than just leveraging them because we have to. It's like that's kind of the vision. That's what we're so excited about, is just enabling everybody to come in and participate, and not have these gatekeepers that are kind of holding people back.
Yeah, well, speaking of your mission and values, and how people can get involved. We have a university program for anyone just tuning in. If you're a student, I really encourage you to check out mousebelt.university. We have some online educational programs there. You can take a blockchain development class, a blockchain business class. So I was always, before we dive in really far into how Presearch actually works, your token, this, staking, advertising, want to hear more about your background and just what got you interested in blockchain in the first place. How did you kind of follow that career path? And do you have any advice for students who might want to do the same?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me personally, it was kind of a background in computer science, but kind of going way back, and then just leveraging basically the internet to build another internet business. And as part of that business, which is called ShopCity.com, really started developing an interest in local currencies, basically alternate currencies, ways that we could enable local communities to transact more freely and in a way that's more of a reciprocal kind of basis, where you're using the local multiplier effect, as they call it, to really amplify the strength of your local economy. And so through that, started exploring ways that could kind of come to reality, and then ended up at blockchain, and realizing that this was the paradigm shift, and that this was the technology that would enable that to happen. And so, Presearch was kind of an existing project for us, something that I had built. We actually had a weird run-in with Google in 2011, where they kind of blacklisted a bunch of our websites, and we ended up in this FTC investigation that was into Google's antitrust practices. And so, Presearch was kind of born from that need, and feeling like there needed to be a level playing field, and then realizing that with the advent of Ethereum and the ability to create our own token, we could basically utilize that token to incentivize people to search through Presearch, and to hopefully have a go-to-market strategy that would enable us to capture market share. And so I kind of have the formal background in computer science in the earlier days, and then more recently, and specifically kind of when I got into it, there really weren't a lot of formal resources. So the fact that there are now is really huge, and that's a great opportunity for anybody who's interested in learning that way. And that's certainly something that projects would consider if you have some type of formal training, and specifically if you've really been educated and you have the ability to kind of understand the landscape and have some insights into where things are going in the future. So yeah, it's a kind of a wide open space. Like I said, very much a meritocracy, and people who have an understanding and have a vision and can get things done, they go places. Two of our head of community and our head of growth are 23-year-old people that are young, just people that were getting things done, and building great relationships in our community, driving growth into the platform, and just kind of made logical sense to onboard them into key executive roles.
I love that. Yeah, I always like to have an intern who is an active university student, because I think that perspective is so important, especially if we're trying to engage with students and find out what they're interested in. And
Mm-hmm.
also, yeah, people who are hungry and passionate. And it's been awesome to mentor young people and see them now, pretty much almost working alongside of me
Mm-hmm.
at the VP level, like running their own kind of programs and departments that they were excited about. So really, that's just a cool thing about working in startup world and in such an emerging industry as blockchain. But I'm curious a bit about the Shop City platform. So it was an e-commerce site. It's an e-commerce site that encourages shopping locally, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and and yeah, just tell us more about that. So were you starting to look at possible solutions where, I'll just use an example. When I was living in Korea working on blockchain projects, one of our partners was working with the government of the city of Seoul to create a token for a particular neighborhood. So you would volunteer in the neighborhood, make this token, and then you could only spend it in that neighborhood. So on the parking meters, on the ice cream shops, whatever. But it's like all of this investment of time and resource was going into the community, and you were being paid back in currency that you could only use in that community. So kind of multiplies, right?
Wow, that's very cool. I'm gonna have to get your contact information. That sounds like there could be some applications. Yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, you've got kind of this buying power within the community. You've got local governments that have this, they're charging property taxes, and so they've got this ability to accept a token and a payment mechanism that is used just within their community. And so right now, the platform is more geared towards just enabling local businesses to have their content found on the internet, and then kind of a marketplace where it's, similar to like an Etsy or an Amazon, where multiple merchants can kind of pool together in a co-op model and have their products be purchased. And then, next layer to that is, this currency where you could enable, a large employer, let's say, to come in and buy a significant, quantity of that currency up front and then distribute it to their employees for, let's say a Christmas bonus or something. And then you're kind of able to jumpstart the network. And then you are looking to get merchants that are adopting that currency. And then if you enable them to pay their property taxes in that currency, then you've kind of got a closed loop ecosystem. So yeah, something that we're working on with Shop City still, and something that I'm pretty passionate about and excited about. One of the main things, with Presearch and Shop City and this kind of Google event was just realizing like how dependent Shop City was on Google, and realizing how dependent all these web businesses are on Google. And I mean, we were very fortunate with that event because we were able to connect with this lawyer, a guy named Gary Reback. He was the guy who broke up Microsoft with Internet Explorer and Windows back in, the late 90s, early 2000s. And he was going after Google to try to, break up their monopoly. And so we connected with him, and he ended up getting us a bunch of press coverage and got us involved in this FTC investigation. And it kind of enabled us to put some pressure on Google, so that, we were able to kind of, escape this penalty box that they had put us into. But in the process, we realized like thousands and thousands of other businesses have had similar things happen. And, you end up all of a sudden on page 8 of Google, and your traffic goes to nothing, and your business basically ends up collapsing. And it just really kind of didn't seem like this, level playing field that everybody views the internet to be. And so that was really kind of the genesis for the idea. It was like, there's got to be a way to introduce something that is more kind of accountable to the community, and something that people could rely on, and something that is more accessible. Because while we were going through this with Google, it was just constant, brick wall all over the place, and we could not get in touch with anybody to get it resolved. Because, ultimately we believed, hey, it's a mistake. We're working with all these city governments and all these people, of authority. We were actually working with the city of Mountain View, California, and the Mountain View Chamber of Commerce, which is where Google's based. And so we thought, this can't be like a quality issue or something. It's something beyond that. And so, yeah, that's kind of how this came to be.
That's so interesting. So it seems like a very natural progression from thinking about how to build economies and token economics around local communities, realizing how much small businesses depend on their discoverability, right, on Google, seeing how a centralized platform that can kind of control what people see can really unfairly affect people. And so there's a whole suite of kind of tools that people are starting to build on blockchain, seeing that maybe that can solve some of these problems. So censorship resistant, there's all sorts of people working on, Twitter on the blockchain, so that, while like their terms of use might be able to hide something that's offensive, it'll still be on the blockchain. So you're not really censoring. You can say like, we're not going to post hateful stuff, but it will exist on the blockchain. We're not hiding it forever. You can go see it. You have things like Brave browser, where people care about their data and how they're being advertised to and what their attention is being spent on. So shouldn't I be compensated for all these ads I'm watching? So you've got a token now where if you watch an ad, you're getting paid for it, right? That's your time, that's your attention. So data, privacy, censorship, and then now with a search engine on the blockchain. Can you tell people more about how your search engine actually works, what the tokens can do, what it's doing for all of these concerns, right, about censorship and privacy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, on the privacy front, basically, we're not collecting any data from users. Most search engines, the way they work, they're storing your searches, they're building a profile around you. That's why sometimes you'll see, weird ads that, hey, I searched for that once and it follows me all around the web. So, we're essentially providing like an anonymous search engine. So So people do a query, it then goes to our node gateway, which then anonymizes the query of any identifiable information, and then it distributes it out to a network of nodes. There's about 4,000 nodes that are on the platform right now. And then they go out basically and are accessing, different search engines, different databases, APIs, and then pulling it back into that interface. And the tokens are primarily utilized on the advertising platform, and then they're used on the incentive platform to give people, a reward for referring new people into the ecosystem. And then within the advertising platform to enable people to basically stake a different keyword. So if I wanted to show up for the word blockchain, I can, use that as my keyword. And then depending on the number of tokens that I stake, if I have the most, then my ad will be displayed. And so that kind of shifts the paradigm a little bit, because how Google works is, it's cost per click. And every time somebody clicks your ad, you're paying, dollars or tens or hundreds of dollars. And within this model, there's no real consumptive charge on the advertising. So you own the tokens still. So whenever you, cancel your stake, then your tokens are returned into your wallet. And so it's really a way to capture demand and create demand for the reward side of things and give it value. And so that's kind of the token economics that we're working on right now. And then over time, the plan is to go to more and more of a blockchain-based decentralized index. We're kind of at a point where like the technology still isn't really there for some of the throughput that's required for some of these things. I mean, we're already doing more than 1 million queries a day, which would be, larger than pretty much any of the major blockchains that are out there currently, and the volume that they're handling. And so we're kind of, waiting a little bit for the technology to mature and to see, what are some best practices that we'll be able to build on. But essentially, we would leverage the existing resources for kind of the long tail of search, as it's called, which is really the hardest part, because you've got these queries that have maybe never been seen before, or they're very obscure, and you need to have this kind of huge, breadth that enables people to always find a result and something that's relevant. And then you've got what's known as the short tail of search, which is, your top 1 million queries, let's say. And so we see that that's more the application to begin with, and enabling basically through a blockchain-based decentralized index to start layering on top of all these external resources, and then start overcoming, any of the bias or the agendas or the censorship that's happening within existing platforms, with a community curated index that enables subject matter experts and data scientists from different communities, whether they're academic or commercial, to start to influence and provide alternative results that people can then basically choose. And we see, in the future, whereas Google basically has one index that everybody uses, there can be multiple indexes, and those indexes may be used to support different communities. So hey, I'm going to choose this index, and then the economic value is going to flow to that community that's producing it, or maybe just the ability to switch different UIs even. So it's more of this kind of framework for search choice. So trying to keep it simple to start, making sure that it's satisfying the existing needs, but then providing people with kind of this whole next generation of search that the world can really kind of plug into and build on, and try to really drive some innovation in a space that really hasn't changed a lot. If you look at Google results, in 2021 versus 2001, the main difference right now is that there's just more ads. So is there a way to like really kind of change the search paradigm and help people really find things, more quickly, or with more trust, or more kind of insight? So.
Absolutely. Well, I think two things that our viewers would maybe want to know a little more about, for people who aren't super technical or understand how search engines work in the first place, as far as like these indexes and having a token on Ethereum and being a blockchain-based search engine. You said you were kind of waiting for the technology. Is this just like a matter of scale, where you're waiting for like maybe a blockchain protocol that is able to handle more queries per second, or What are you looking at to maybe the future, either Ethereum 2.0 or moving on to a different platform?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is kind of the concept of interoperability and being able to leverage different blockchains for different specific use cases. And so right now, kind of like our core layer, which is primarily the rewards and the advertising, we're satisfying that with Ethereum, and Ethereum has some great benefits, primarily just kind of the ubiquitousness of the blockchain and the way that it works with so many wallets and different, third-party platforms, exchanges and whatnot. And, then there are the limitations, which are, right now it's not so bad, but, the transaction fees, over the past 3-4 months, we've had like $50-$60 transaction fees, which just, they make the blockchain totally unusable. And they just, completely hamper the usage. And so it's the speed, but also kind of the cost. And so we're looking at different layer 2 solutions, Matic and others, that Arbitrum, that enable you to basically take some of your activity off chain and leverage their platforms to handle transactions in a much more cost effective and much faster manner. But then we're looking at other chains that show a lot of promise for more like data storage, not so much monetary transactions. And so right now it's kind of Ethereum we view as kind of like our economic layer, but there are other needs as far as building out indexes. There's a new platform called the Graph that looks really interesting. We're doing some experiments there. They're kind of designed to basically create decentralized indexes, and there are others as well. And then just looking at in general, how do we leverage token bridges? How do we use different chains? In particular, sometimes it's more of a go-to-market strategy, and how do we reach their communities? If a blockchain has 1 million people within their community that are supporting their token, then we want to in some way piggyback on that blockchain and tap into that community and leverage that as a go-to-market strategy. And so I think the future is decentralized, and it is about kind of having this multi-chain strategy versus one chain to rule them all. I think that's certainly not the future, and totally kind of contrary to decentralism. And there's definitely some irony there when you've got maximalists that'll say, oh, it's only Bitcoin or it's only whatever. It's like, wow, you a decentralist. That's like the exact opposite of true decentralist thinking. So I mean, I think lots of chains have really bright futures, and we are certainly in the early days. But the way that blockchain brings about transparency, with having a block explorer where you can go, anybody can go in and see the individual transactions and verify things themselves, is massive. And then just really for us, it's been about aligning the interests of all the participants in the ecosystem. So instead of having VCs that come in and they're the funders, but then they're pushing for like an exit, either as a sale or a public listing, and then you've got team members, and then you've got your advertisers, and you've got your users, and everybody kind of has these different objectives, and also different value that they're bringing to the ecosystem, and then also different concerns. This is a way to like align everybody on that same unit of value, so that really the unit of value is growing as all the different components to the ecosystem are thriving. And so yeah, it's definitely exciting technology, but yeah, lots still to be developed and explored.
Well, that's perfect because it totally ties into kind of the larger conversation that we're having during this conference series, just about, third generation blockchains, whether, it's going to be Bitcoin on the throne. And it's so great, you said that it's a little ironic to be committed to this concept of decentralization and thinking that all of our blockchain technology needs to be centralized into one coin. Will there be an Ethereum killer is 2.0 going to fix all these problems? What are some of the other projects out there? I have friends working on Graph, so
Oh, cool.
great to hear them get a shout out, and just, yeah, all this decentralized computing, cloud computing stuff that's going to be coming. So I think our viewers got a little peek into, layer two solutions like Matic, kind of getting to hear those names and go out and learn more if they want to. So I think the other thing that people tuning in might be really interested in, especially, marketing, like e-commerce marketing, people who are concerned or think about costs per click, and might be getting really excited about this staking idea. So can you tell us a little bit more about how exactly that works, and keyword staking, and why that might be something they should look into?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I mean, the audience compared to Google is obviously small. I mean, we're kind of startup mode. About 2.2 million registered users, about 1 million queries a day that are happening right now. But it's an audience that's pretty targeted. Basically, it's all crypto enthusiasts currently, and certainly they're all crypto holders because they're accumulating Presearch tokens as they search, and so they're kind of becoming aware of this whole ecosystem. We really are becoming one of the main on ramps into crypto as far as people kind of getting their first coins and having just this kind of easy experience that is something that people do, as you said at the beginning. I mean, it's kind of the number one activity. If you go on to SimilarWeb, what is the number one domain in the world? It is google.com. That's the number one domain in the world as far as traffic goes. And so search is a really common activity, something that people can integrate into their daily lives. And then as they're doing it, they're earning tokens. And so if you're looking to reach that type of audience, as well as we've targeted a lot of web workers. So people that are, spending 8 hours a day on the computer, they're trying to optimize a workflow, trying to search in all these different resources, whether it's, blockchain explorer. We have a lot of people that are searching, Etherscan, or they might be adding their own CRM, customer relationship management system in there, and they're searching kind of their own internal systems. They can do that through Presearch. And so we've got a lot of people that are pretty technically savvy, early adopters, people that are looking at new kind of bleeding edge technologies. And anybody who's looking to reach those people, yeah, it's kind of a bit of a, almost no lose situation where you can buy some Presearch tokens, stake them against a keyword. You can basically kind of taste the traffic. So if you have the number one position and your ad is getting displayed, that's where you start getting the stats. So you can see, how many people are actually searching it, how many people are clicking on my ad, and starting to see some of the conversion rates. So it's kind of like, this intelligence that you can start to gain that isn't publicly accessible. We don't have like what Google has, where they've got, a keyword explorer, and you can see how many people have searched for different keywords and whatnot. For us, it's kind of a secret sauce that's available to the people that are actually doing the staking. And so, yeah, they, commit basically their Presearch tokens in real time against that keyword. As soon as they, choose to cancel their stake, then whoever the second highest staker is would have their ad displayed, and then their tokens are returned to their wallet. They can sell them on an exchange if they like, or hold on to them, or use them on a different keyword, or you can also stake as you're running the nodes as well, and then that can kind of amplify the rewards that we're providing to people for providing the infrastructure. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity for people that are looking to reach that type of audience. Definitely.
Yeah, as a media company in crypto,
Mm-hmm.
definitely as the wheels are turning. But so you can buy these tokens on an exchange.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell them on an exchange. I saw on your website you're listed on a couple different places. KuCoin. Where else can people find Presearch tokens if they want to start jump in on staking and advertising on your search engine?
Yeah, the biggest ones, KuCoin and Uniswap for a decentralized exchange. There are a couple of smaller exchanges, and then if you just go to marketplace.presearch.org, you can buy them as well through kind of an easy platform that's designed more for advertisers that don't know anything about crypto. The other one's basically, if you want to buy them, you got to pay in Bitcoin or pay in Ethereum. And so if somebody wants to pay with a credit card or a wire transfer or a more traditional means, we're trying to provide them with kind of that easy on-ramp into buying crypto that way. So they can just go to marketplace.presearch.org and add them into your shopping cart and buy them that way. So.
And you also earn them by using the search engine.
That's correct. Yep. So basically, you go on, you create an account, and then we've got a couple of different browser extensions as well as mobile apps, making it pretty easy for people to access and build it into their workflow and actually shift onto it. And then as they search, they're earning tokens, and there's a little balance in the top right corner that shows you how many you've got. And then, you can use them for running ads or doing nodes, or you can cash them out into another cryptocurrency.
And how does the economics work there? Like, who is paying for that? Does that come from ad revenue that you all are receiving on the site?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's basically ad revenue, and then we're exploring some kind of interesting different ways to enable people to kind of take over the platform for a day or a week, let's say, and then they basically pay directly for the rewards. We're also looking at some where the rewards, if they are a crypto project, might not be in the form of pre-tokens. It might be in the form of their own native token. So it can be kind of a distribution model for them to go out and get new token holders. And we still have then obviously the incentive for people to use Presearch. They're earning tokens. They might come from the graph, or they might come from somewhere else. And that's kind of, that incentive model, but it's not coming kind of directly out of our Presearch treasury, basically.
Well, that's a very cool idea. So want to make sure that we cover, all of the most latest news about what you guys have going on. You said that you're getting ready to have your mainnet launch. So maybe tell viewers about where you are on the roadmap and what's coming up next.
Cool. Yeah. So we've launched our testnet at the end of January, and we've got more than 4,000 nodes running on that already, which is pretty significant. Like, I think Ethereum has 4,500 nodes, so it's already got a fair bit of traction, considering it's just testnet at this point. But we've been kind of working through the challenges of offering a decentralized search experience, and been making some really good progress. Recently purchased Presearch.com, which we didn't have. We've been running on .org. So as we switch over to mainnet, we'll be going to our .com brand. And then just, we've kind of got a bit of a tighter integration between our kind of multi-search user interface and the actual engine that we have developed. And then, being powered by the user nodes. We've also got a new reward system that is being developed, as well as kind of our revamp. I mean, one of the biggest, technical challenges that we run into is people trying to game the system, people running bots, people trying to just, click and collect tokens. And so we've kind of had an existing platform that's in place to combat that abuse. And we've recently come up with a new model for how to handle that. And so that's in the process of being implemented, and all those things will kind of come together. And then plan is, kind of early fall, we're launching the mainnet and providing people with that, kind of 2.0 experience for us. There's also a UI refresh and some other things involved. But team's been doing some great work, and the community's been very supportive, and overall it's coming together really nicely. So excited to get that out and then reach more millions of people.
Yeah, that's super exciting. So for anyone tuning in, how can they find you, learn more about Presearch? Where do they go?
Cool. So they can go to presearch.io. Presearch.io is kind of the info site. Presearch.org currently, or presearch.com will take you to the actual search engine. And then, in the top, there's the links to all the different subsections, the marketplace, keyword staking, nodes. And then our Telegram community is really kind of our number one way to interact with us. And so you can just go to t.me/presearch. And we've got some awesome admins in there, and the team all hangs out in there. So if you've got some ideas that you want to share or questions, go ahead and ask away. And would love to have more people in your community be part of the community. So appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Reimagine 2021. For everyone just tuning in, this is our virtual blockchain conference series, Game of Chains. I'm here with Colin Pape of Presearch. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more.
Thanks.